How to gain respect in the FGC. I feel like that's the main thing that people care about. You know, there's all kind of debates. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've stood up and say, put money on it then, after I've lost in a tournament. Trust me, I've been there before. So, you know, as far as this as a whole, bro, like, there's so many different ways that we can take it, right? Results is the king in the end of the day, right? If you're winning a whole lot, then, I mean, what can someone really say? That was a trick. That was a test to see if you was stupid, baka, because results, they don't matter as much as you would think when it comes to getting respect. At least in my opinion, Brian, because so much is subjective. What about the fact that, all right, so Brian, you know, you go win some 3 tournaments in a row or something like that. But, or, sorry, we don't even got to make it hypothetical. You are someone who is offline, you know, some people forget about your offline things now, multiple CPT Premier top 8s, right? So, but I remember when you were, I want to say you beat Sako or Mochi or something like that at Calm Breaker. But at that time, Balrog was busted. So some people are going to completely ignore your skill and are just going to say, well, Balrog is just busted.
Yeah, the better you do with the busted character, the worse you are. That's what I found out.
Yeah.
The more you win, the worse of a player you are. Isn't that something? Isn't that funny? The better you place, the more players I took out, the worse of a player I found out I was by the community.
Yeah,
I got worse and worse the more I won. That was ridiculous.
You lost more and more respect.
Imagine my surprise when I figured that out, It doesn't matter what you do because some people are just always going to be shifting the goalposts.
That, bro. Yeah, but there's some people who going to say that you're amazing no matter what, right? You know, bias.
I think it's the results. If you're looking for respect, I think the problem with going with the results route is they're only like the top 1 gets respect. Top 1 to 5. There's legacy. There's like the legacy players who earn their props from forever ago, and then that apparently never has an expiration date. Doesn't that lasts for a lifetime? But if you're not like the number 1, 2, even number 1, you win Capcom Cup, there's gonna be people who don't respect you. I don't want Capcom Cup. Mena won Capcom Cup. You know the amount of disrespect they got.
Yeah,
they were done dirty.
Like, oh well, Mena ain't really. What was he doing up to that point? All of that. There's all kind of excuses.
He was working. He was putting the work in up to that.
All kind of work, bro. He had one just as a side note. Man was down like 0-2 on loser side to Tokido in grand finals and had to reverse 3-0 him just to reset the bracket and then won the reset. Even that is not enough for some people, right? But something that I think is interesting to bring up in this conversation, bro. And we kind of on 2 opposite parts of the sides of the coin on this as far as our natural personality types and approaches. But something I realized at some point, bro, was like, believe it or not, Big Hollywood was a little humble at one point. And I'm still a humble guy. Don't let people tell you different. But I was more humble at one point. And then I realized, if you don't point out your accomplishments, if you don't let people know, then some people gonna try to sweep it under the rug, Brian. Recently, when we just saw you go and just smack up everybody at Wednesday Night Fights, you went and put a tweet up. Your tweet said something along the line, we gotta show it on screen. You said something along the lines of, dang, it took me 50 tries to win NLBC. I won Wednesday Night Fights on my first try. Now, of course, you taking the piss a little bit, having fun, hyping stuff up, and we got nothing but love for everybody over there on the West Coast, even though you ain't showing no love in that bracket. But with that being the case, that moment all of a sudden is way more memorable. And creating memorable moments is extremely important because you could be whoever you want to be. And if it was off stream, didn't count. If there was no story behind it or whatever, who cares, right? So, I'm not saying everyone has to approach it in that way, because if you win enough, then people kind of have no choice but to acknowledge it to some point. But come on, bro. Imagine how many followers does Adam have on Twitter, right? Like 9,000 something? Like, or 10,000, 12,000, whatever it is. Now, let's imagine if Adam, he winning just as much as he wins right now, but he let people know about it all the time. He have
every single.
Come on, bro.
Every single NLBC. Imagine he's like, East Coast ain't nothing. Every single NLBC week after week. We'd be sick of him. But you know what? Yeah, he'd be making some waves for sure. Idom is like the quintessential dude who just shows up, cleans up the house, and just doesn't even. It's nothing to him. It's nothing to him. And yeah, he gets swept under the rug a lot. I mean, he's definitely established his legacy, I think, at this point, just because he's been so dominant. Like, he's just been winning so much. Every single event he enters is in the top 2 or 1, right? It's either Punk tanking him out or he's winning, right? And so when you're at that level, people respect you. But, at first it wasn't like that. When he first won Capcom Cup, it definitely wasn't like that. You know how many people are like, oh, Laura's random. Like, this dude scrubbed out a win.
Yes, bro.
You don't scrub out a Capcom Cup win, buddy. Don't embarrass yourself like that. And you in the stream chat watching right now, don't embarrass yourself like that. You look like a fool. Yes. You look foolish talking like that. But that's how people think, And so eventually the results add up over time. But man, if you're somebody who's in that top 16, that top 32 in the world, people don't know. People like I'm glad you brought up. We talked about Evo. You talked about
Tony.
What was his name? Sorry,
Tony beating Daigo.
Even the name just slipped my mind right there. Keep singing that, right? People don't know about these wins that happen. People don't know about like the stepping stones on that ladder, all the rungs that you climb to get to where you are. And even if you start getting that respect, like, you're RobTV these days, you speak a lot about your accomplishments and you're proud of it. Even for me, I don't like to brag like that too much, but people be forgetting.
Yeah, bro, you just had that happen. Yeah, like people are like, oh,
people be forgetting or they don't know.
At online.
I'm like, what? They just got good at online. Please just Google my name. Look up the results. Name your favorite player.
And just type Brian F and him, and like, you probably beat him at
I've definitely lost. I've lost to my fair share of good players, but I've taken some names. I've taken some offline names, and it happens, and that's the thing. Like, so for me personally, I feel like my strat is, you're more consistent with it. I just like to wait and then just send the message out.
On the perfect moment. You're right.
Just wait for the moment
and then
send it out. But you're right about getting respect, man. One thing to know is like, if you start doing good, don't expect to get respect, because you'll find out that people just are, they're crabs in a bucket. They will shift the goalposts, and then no matter what, like, people will try to downplay it, and this is how it is, and it doesn't get the disrespect doesn't get better, but it gets better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know how to deal with it better, but don't expect it to go away.
Bro, one thing I put out just as far as for like the viewer standpoint, and when I say viewers, I'm talking about people watching this, of course, but I'm also talking about myself and you, but as fans of the fighting game community, not as players and hosts and all that stuff, right? When it comes to how we judge talent and results and things like that, like if there's a tournament where it's like, yo, Punk, nobody, Daigo, all these people, it's a major event, but for some reason none of them could enter, but I win, I'm gonna be viewed in a higher light than if I got
even though the names you took were the same in the win versus the second place in terms of like the level, you get more props to the win. So the time you won, you beat a bunch of people, but you didn't beat IDOM.
Yeah.
But then the same run, you can beat the same people, then lose to IDOM, and it's not as important.
It's not as right. That's mad weird to me. If anything, this one dude is just mad nice at that point. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, so I feel like when I do my best to, like, when I'm analyzing people, I try my best not to analyze it based off of just the big crazy moments and so on and so forth.
I agree, and it's a problem with just how, I don't know, how the news spreads, how you get your name out there, because, man, I can't tell you how many times you see in the tournament chat, the top 8's going on, they're like, wait, Smug didn't enter? They'll be like, wait, so-and-so didn't enter? Where's Punk? Where's this? Where's that? And then they'll be like, oh, okay, this tournament, it's nothing. These players, they ain't good players. Meanwhile, those players eliminated the people that you're talking about, and they entered, maybe they just didn't make it to that top 8, right? So, like, the problem is, like, even if you get the wins on the people that have the clout and, people are looking for, you might not even get that respect because people aren't going to bother to look at the brackets, right? People aren't going to bother to look up what actually happened. There's so many untold stories in every bracket. So I definitely like to look at all the brackets and, like, look at who beat who, the scores even, you know what I mean? Go back and look at it because there's so many tales being woven and told all the time about who's kind of, like, making a name for themselves, building that legacy, starting to level up and get wins over big names, because that matters, right? Like in other communities, I feel like they track those things like very closely. That's one thing I would love to see more from the traditional FGC community, is tracking that. You know, if a player A gets a win over player B, like, you know, we can see those stats and build that up over time, because those little things eventually add up to building the legacy of a player. And if you're a viewer, I mean, just maybe look up their name first before you start assuming things about them. Because I see that way too often, man. People just see names they're not familiar with and assume it's a joke ting when it ain't.
Yeah.
These players are serious.
Yo, and guys, of course, at the beginning of this segment, I said it's tongue-in-cheek for a reason, because at the end of the day, do whatever you want to do. If you want to see somebody make it all the way to grand finals and then they get cooked and you say, oh, free, you suck, you have the right to do so, just like anyone else. I'm just having fun with it. I personally, the way I go about it is like, you know, hey, look, I'm big Hollywood, and that's good enough for me. I can look in the mirror and be like, yo, I'm godlike, and that's all that really matters, right? And I feel like that's how most players should go about it to be most effective, but different strokes for different folks.